Okay, welcome to Pop Art with Walter. And the first thing we're going to do is duplicate our background layer. That way, if we make any mistakes or we need to go back, we have our original locked italicized background layer that I'm going to turn off, and we're good to go. Next thing we're going to do is give it a crop. So I'm going to grab the crop tool, which is in the same family as the slice tool and the perspective crop, and C is the shortcut. And then up in the top option bar, I'm going to set the crop for 1 by 1 square. This will set it for 1 by 1, and then I can move it around and see how it might look best. I think for this exercise, you want to get pretty close to the face. That way we can see a lot of the gesture and a lot of the detail. To apply this transformation, press return, and you will see that it has been cropped. In this case, I did delete cropped pixels because I don't feel like with that crop, I lost any information that I'm going to come back and want to get later. If there is, you can always uncheck delete crop pixels, and later you can reveal all.
Just one page got damaged, that's it.
Oh, that's fine, that's perfect. Thank you very much. That's it. Awesome. Now I have an additional handout to make sure that I stay linear. And hit return. I'm going to go back to the move tool. We have the image cropped into a beautiful square. You'll notice that when you crop and you choose, I'm just going to go back up in your history one. When you crop and you choose delete, you do not choose delete crop pixels, the background layer will change from a locked background layer to an unlocked layer 0, which is fine, but just so you know what that's about. In this case, let's go back to delete crop pixels, press return, and there we go. And because I deleted the crop pixels, this background maintained the italicized nature and the lock. All right, sounds good? All right. So then the next thing we're going to do is, I believe we make it black and white. Let's go to our adjustments. Second row, third one over, grab our black and white adjustment layer. One of the benefits of this adjustment layer is that we can drag these different values to change the look of the image. Give him a little spark in his eye. Don't worry at all about the background because we're going to crop all of that out. You can also use some of the presets such as infrared, lighter, red filter. I think red filter looks pretty good on this guy. All right, I'm going to go back to the background copy for just 1 second. Zoom in, get the spot healing brush, and I'm just going to get rid of this little eye issue. Because it was driving me a little bit nuts, and his mom should really make sure that he's presentable before photographs are taken. Okay, now we have 3 layers. We have black and white adjustment layer, our background copy, and our locked original background layer. So the next thing we need to do is make a stamp visible layer. Now why do we make a stamp visible layer?
So you can change around if you need to. So you can change that, change it around. So if you want to try to make it differently, just get rid of it or hide it.
We can do that with almost any layer. So the stamp visible layer, the benefit of that is it's going to put the information from all of the visible layers onto one new layer without flattening it. So what I need is I need one layer that has the original information, the color information background copy where the pixels of Walter live, and then I need the black and white adjustment layer on that same layer. So what some people will do is merge or flatten, but we want to maintain our layer structure. So what we're going to do is go up to the top, click on the black and white layer, and with that layer selected, we're going to go Shift Command Option E. And that makes a new layer that is black and white with the information from this layer and has the pixel information from this layer. Okay? So it's best to name that stamp visible. Keeping all of these layers will let us go back and change our mind and gives us the freedom to work non-destructively. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is add a filter. Now, a lot of people will say, okay, I'll add a filter. And they'll pick something like Spherize and just bounce that up to 100, hit OK. Whereas it does, it's probably the only thing that could make him cuter. If you want to change your mind about that later, can you? You could start all over again by deleting that stamp visible and making another one. But once you've applied a filter, that filter is stuck to that layer. But there's a way to work around that. So let's go up into our history, click up one, go back to the name change where we named stamp visible. We're going to go to filter, convert for smart filters. And what that does is makes it so we can add layers, we can subtract them, we can move them around, and we can change the blending mode of filters. So we can go to filter, distort, twirl, just make it crazy, hit OK. And then if you were to come and turn this in, right, you saved it and you turned it in, and you're like, I kind of like it. And I'm thinking, really? Is that you sure you haven't lost a little bit of the representational quality of it? You can go right over to the stamp visible layer that has this little smart object icon, and you can turn it off. So it's very good for experimenting. In this case, we're going to go to filter, stylize, fine edges. Now in this case, I think it's a little extreme, so I'm going to adjust the filter. And I can do that by clicking Find Edges right here. Right with this little, okay. I can change the mode to multiply. I can change the mode to overlay, soft light, kind of like multiply. Then I can also take down the opacity of that filter. So you are getting some of the effects of the filter, but you're not getting 100% of the effects of the filter because we're able to go into the blending options for that specific filter. I'm going to hit OK. I also have twirl over here still, just in case I was feeling crazy. Or if I'd like to grab twirl, I can throw it in the trash. Okay. So now we've got find edges, but less aggressively than if we didn't change the blending mode over here. So normal to multiply. And it kind of depends on how you want it to look. Because we're going with the Andy Warhol method, I like to retain a little bit of the photographic information. So maybe I'll go with soft, let's see, overlay. Overlay looks kind of cool too. I'm going to go kind of in there. Perfect. All right. Then the next thing we're going to do is add another filter. So what we need to do is, I'm sorry, before that, we need to add the threshold adjustment layer. Excuse me. Adjustments, threshold. This also can be kind of an aggressive move, so you can play around in the properties panel with the threshold. That's a little dark maybe, right? Losing a little bit too light. So I like to pick some place in the middle and then take the layer blending mode of the layer, right? So we're going to change the blending mode of the layer and maybe the opacity. So these three things work hand in hand. So let's review. Here, when we did the stamp visible layer, we converted the layer to a smart object, which allowed us to apply smart filters, which we could turn on and off. And also, over with this little two triangles here, we could double click and change the blending options for that filter. Okay, so I did that, and now with this threshold, because it's pretty aggressive at normal, I can change the layer blending mode of that layer, of that adjustment layer. Change it to overlay, soft light. I think soft light looks pretty good because we don't want it to look necessarily maintain all of the photographic. We want it to have some graphic quality too. So I think that looks pretty good. Yep. So to review our layers, we have our original background copy, which is locked, italicized. We leave it alone. We made a copy by selecting the background and dragging it over the new item here, or right-clicking on the background layer and saying duplicate layer. Then we made a black and white adjustment layer, which is located on the second row in our adjustment panel. Then we made stamp visible, which is Shift Command Option E on a Mac. And that created this layer that contained the black and white and the pixel information. We converted the stamp visible layer to a smart filter under the filter menu. Convert for smart filters. So now the layer is a smart object. And then we made another adjustment layer up here. All right, sound good so far? All right, now we need to do one more stamp visible layer, and then we are ready to add color. Shortcut for stamp visible? Exactly. Why did I make another stamp visible?
So that it had all the information of all the filters you just added.
Exactly. I want all of it on one layer because now I'm going to start adding new new fill layers with different colors, and I need all of that information, all of the adjustment layers, all of the filters, all on one layer without losing my layer structure. Okay? How's that sound? Good? Okay, we will stop this video here, and in the next video we'll start adding color. All right?